and welcome to my channel. Most of my friends and family know me as Liz, but you can call me the Cookbook Lady. Now, I have a lot of passions in my life, but two of those things are cooking and cookbook collecting, and I wanted to find a way to combine those two things. So, here I am. Now, today's video comes out of this cookbook here, A Taste of Heaven, Kershaw Second Baptist Church. The copyright of this cookbook is 2006, so certainly not the oldest in my collection, but there are many treasured recipes from generations of families and friends, and that's something I simply adore about these kinds of cookbooks. Now, for today's video, we are doing a classic comfort meal, meatloaf. This recipe caught my eye because it uses an ingredient that I've never thought about using in a meatloaf recipe before. Now, the only alteration I am going to make to this recipe is the addition of diced onions, because personally, I'm trying to be better about food waste and I have some onions that I need to use up. Other than that, if you would like to find the original written recipe, you can find that down below in the description of this video. That being said, let's get cooking. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and get our oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. For this recipe, we will be using 1.25 pounds of ground beef, 2 eggs, the star of the recipe, a pack of stovetop stuffing, 1 15-ounce can of tomato sauce, 1 teaspoon salt, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 3 tablespoons light brown sugar, 2 teaspoons mustard, and either 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of ketchup. So there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of prep work for this recipe, except with the addition of my chopped onions. The only thing that I can notice for this recipe that needs prepping is separating the cubes from the stuffing mix and then mixing together our topping for our meatloaf. So I decided to work backward a bit and prep our ketchup topping first. To a small bowl, we are going to add our ketchup, mustard, and brown sugar and give that a whisk and then set to the side. Now the next thing I'm going to do is dump our stuffing mix into our primary mixing bowl and pick out the cubes and set those to the side. So even though I do plan out and try to script my videos so they flow easier, cooking in the kitchen, you are bound to come across some surprises. So as y'all saw, I dumped out the stovetop mix and it's not very cubed as I was thinking. It's a lot more smaller pieces. So instead of picking them out, we're just gonna leave them in the bowl and hopefully it won't affect the recipe too much. So the last thing I'm going to do is I am going to prep my onion and give that a nice chop to add into the meatloaf. Alright, I think we're finally ready to bring this meatloaf together. Now, we already have the stuffing seasoning in this bowl, so we just need to add the rest of the ingredients for the recipe. So in goes our ground beef, 2 eggs, the can of tomato sauce, the onion that I'm adding, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, and a teaspoon of salt. After mixing well, we are going to transfer this to a greased loaf pan. The recipe didn't specify what kind of pan, just to place it in a pan and shape to loaf. So I figured this made the most sense. So remember how I was talking about how when you are in the kitchen, you can run into surprises and things that you weren't expecting? This recipe, it makes a lot of meat mixture. I still have quite a bit left in my bowl and my pan is already full. So to help offset this and not be wasteful, I'm going to transfer this to a casserole dish and then just kind of put the rest in there and shape it into a loaf. And now finally we can cover the top of our meatloaf with our ketchup mixture. Alrighty, the recipe tells us to leave this in the oven for about an hour. So we are gonna let this cook. And I'll see you guys in about an hour. Alright y'all, so it's come time to give this meatloaf a try. As y'all can see, I don't know how well it picks up on this camera, but hopefully my other camera got some decent shots in. This meatloaf looks so moist, like just very juicy, and thankfully it's all the way cooked through. I've had a recipe that I've made before that wasn't, but this is cooked all the way through. Let's go ahead and give this a taste test. Bon appetit. That is interesting. I've never made a meatloaf with tomato sauce in it. The topping is your typical meatloaf glaze, very sweet. The tomato sauce though, the tomato sauce definitely adds an interesting flavor to the actual meatloaf. Although this is very moist, it is lacking a little bit of flavor. If I were to do this differently, I think I would season the hell out of it. I don't think there's enough seasoning in the stuffing mix itself to carry throughout the meatloaf. I am glad that I did add the addition of the onion because that does help to bring a little flavor to it. Overall though, it's not a bad meatloaf. Absolutely not. It's very moist. I like the consistency of it. The only thing that I wish is that it was just a little bit more flavorful. And you can definitely fix that with your seasoning cabinet. Overall, I think this recipe was a huge success. Despite there being a lack of flavor for me personally, I don't think it's a bad meatloaf. So make sure you guys give it a try. Like I said, I had a little bit of extra seasoning and I think this would be the perfect meatloaf. But anyways, I appreciate y'all joining me on this culinary adventure. If you happen to like today's video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. Until next time, stay safe y'all. Bye!